Sorry about that. We are here now for our third edition of my Sharn streams, where we are going over what we might see in Dungeons and Dragons online when the Sharn expansion drops sometime next year. Hopefully early in the year. Now, the sooner it gets here, the sooner I'm going to be happy with it. The sooner I'm going to, be all excited about it. As I finished off last time, I will be going over the role the Dragonmarked houses play. And let me bring that PDF up for you guys. I'm just hanging out in the Adept's Rest Bar. There it is. So, now, as we can see here, it says, while all the Dragonmarked houses have some presence in Sharn, four of the houses are particularly important in the city. House Cainith, House Denieth, House Kandaric, and House Civis. Now, three of these you know pretty well, but let's see how they work inside of Sharn itself. So House Cainith, following the destruction of Sire, House Cainith split into three factions. The southern faction is led by Merrick's de Kenneth, who makes his home in Sharn. Sharn has always had a strong presence in the city. Cainith engineers and architects helped rebuild the city, and it was Cainith artificers who had developed the flying buttresses that allow for the construction of the enormous towers. And when we're talking about flying buttresses, we're talking about actually flying buttresses. During the war, the Cainith Enclave in Sharn was one of the main production centers for the magic weapons and potions that Braylon purchased from the house, including the majority of Braylon's Warforged soldiers. Today, House Cainith provides a wide variety of services within Sharn. House Cainith alchemists produce the bulk of the magic potions in the city, and most first-level potions carry a Cainith seal. Cainith engineers and masons help with the continued development of Sharn, and just as importantly, they help to repair and maintain the existing towers and suspended streets and roads. Cainith artificers maintain the spells powering the great foundries and the cogs. Both of these duties are handled by Cainith heirs, but also by teams of skilled laborers trained and employed by the house. Obviously, great hooks for adventures in Sharn, especially if we move our ways into the cogs. One of the secrets of the house is that quite a few of its members are followers of the Traveler. We'll get a new Traveler event. I mean, hunting for Easter eggs always was kind of meh. Maybe we get a new festival. I mean, Lotro's loaded with festivals. Let's get us when it launches, a Sharn Traveler Festival. Yes. That'd be exciting. In its aspect as the Guard of Artifice, while this generally has little impact on things, it does form a common bond between some members of Cainith and the Tyrant Changelings. Could we get Changelings too? I know we're getting Tieflings, but, more Forbs. The Cainith Enclave in the Dragon Towers is used for diplomatic relations, but most of the important work is done in Forgehold, the industrial complex in the Ashblack district of the Upper Cogs. Smaller Cainith enclaves are scattered about the city, primarily alchemical workshops and outposts for the Tinker's Guild. Still, great hooks. Merrick's de Kenneth leads the Sharn household and the southern branch of House Cainith. So, we can see him interacting, maybe getting information from the people that were sent to Zendrick. Merrick's has little interest in reuniting the house. He doesn't care for either of his younger cousins, and he intends to keep the southern house on the same paths of research and production that it was on before the destruction of Sire. Merrick's does have two interests, the Warforged and the Mournland. Merrick's grandfather developed the first Warforged, and Merrick's has been secretly continuing this work, maintaining the Creation Forge in the depths of Sharn, and trying to produce new and improved Warforged designs. Ooh, look at that. Maybe a little bit with the Lord of Blades, huh? A little something, something. He is fascinated by stories of strange constructs and artifacts found in Zendrick. Woo woo! And has speculated that his grandfather and other artificers who first created the Warforged may have been using secrets recovered from the Lost Continent. Natural tie-in right there to the Lord of Blades and Master Artificer runs. He is also concerned about the fate of the Warforged in this new type of peace, and has been trying to help the living constructs adapt. We got tie-in right there with Brothers of the Forge. Merrick's second area of interest is in the Mournland, and he might hire adventurers to explore the Blasted Realm and recover lost Canada artifacts. Now, I don't see this being as a day one hook, but, you know, to say that we might not see the Mournlands before 2020, I wouldn't say that. I would say there's a good chance. There's, you know, update 43, the Mournlands can be in December 2019 could possibly be a thing. I wouldn't put any odds. I'm not saying this, you know, that is a certainty. I think they probably. The drawback to Ravenloft as an expansion is the way they did the expansion. It's kind of a closed box. Ravenloft is Ravenloft. But I would like to see even more quests. I would not like to see it, but I could understand the need to put more quests in the Forgotten Realms, Evening Star and whatnot. Another important member of the Sharn Kenneth household is Tarya de Kenneth. During the war, Tarya helped to streamline production of healing potions and alchemist fire, both of which were in high demand. Currently, she is concerned and intrigued by dragon's blood. She is trying to identify the source of the elixir, the secret of its composition, and what possible side effects might be hidden in the brew. Sorry about that. Once she discovers its source, she might hire adventurers to go to Drone to discover its true nature and purpose. This seems to me to be a long time or a slow cooking hook. This, if I had this in the production meeting, a hook that goes to Drone or something like this, as opposed to finding the lost secrets of the last war, this would be a six updates down the line. I don't see it being in anytime soon. But we might see Tarya. She is a female human artificer. She seems to be pretty well equipped. Finally, Sharn is home to 5 members of the Darkwood Watch, House Kenneth elite wand-wielding soldiers. Ooh, that could be good for an update down the line where we finally pump wand and scroll mastery. The squad leader is Menya de Kenneth. The Darkwood Watch is usually assigned to protect the Kenneth Forgehold, and they are only used for extremely important tasks. It's a good hook. The Kenneth Secret Service. Alright. So we move on to House Denith. Or as I like to call it, House Denny's. Home of the Grand Slam Adventuring Party. I mean, that would be a funny thing to put in there, you know. The Dragonmarked House of Pancakes. D-Hop. I just hit me. I'm gonna have to get my skills up and do a logo for it. Maybe make it look a little Keenethy and whatnot. All right, let's get to the house. On the surface, House Deneth plays the same role in Sharn as it does in most major cities of Corvair and Zendrick. It provides soldiers and bodyguards to anyone with gold. In addition to the nearly 200 members of the Deneth bloodline who reside in Sharn, the house employs a host of mercenary warriors. The Blade Mark includes 500 soldiers, 49 heirs, and a host of Breelish conscripts. Hey! Wow, I'm surprised. Well, thank you, Mockduck. Currently, we're going over the source books of Sharn to see what you're going to put in. We're going over the Dragonmarked today. I do appreciate the raid. All right, well, we're gonna keep going with this. But I appreciate everybody coming in. Thanks, Scumscreen. Thanks, Druid's Fire. If you like DDO, I primarily do DDO. I do Lotro too and some other games, but you know the two Samsung games are my things. But I'm really interested in the Sharn thing. Everybody who knows me knows that I was super pumped for Sharn. All right, many of these warriors did fight in the last war. Today they serve as a private security force for the wealthiest citizens of Sharn. Many of the lords and merchants of the upper city employ the services of Deneth mercenaries, and they have a particularly strong presence in Upper Tavik's Landing, where they have equal authority with the Sharn Watch. So, as we went over the geography of Sharn, we see that we're still seeing some of the main core areas of Sharn here. We're looking at the upper city of the Central Plateau and Tavik's Landing, which I said, all right, no problem, Drew's Fire. And Tavik's Landing, which I said would be pretty easy to join to, grabbing a place where the university is. So we can kind of see that all working together. I mean, if they only can put in 2 out of the 6 areas, those would be the 2 to go to. While it seems like a typical Deneth enclave to the casual observer, the Sharn household is anything but ordinary. Almost a century ago, the Sharn enclave was compromised by the Dreaming Dark, and today it is a stronghold of shadows. Look at that. We have another awesome hook, another great expansion we can build off of, because we know that we dealt with the Dreaming Dark all throughout the Inspired Quarter. So, if we wanted to see if they wanted to continue the Inspired Quarter's quest, which starts, of course, with the Hidden Chapel. And I know the quest has a name. I really don't have everything up as far as the DDO side. Get that over here. Oh, probably did not run that. A little hard to find. What is it? 18. It's not finding the path. It's the other one. Dream Conspiracy. There we go. Dream Conspiracy. Starting with Dream Conspiracy and ending with the Dreaming Dark. Including the wonderful, the wonderfully quirky I Dream of Jeets. Everybody needs to play I Dream of Jeets once. Even if you don't. Even if you find it really challenging. And it is. It's really worth a playthrough. While the Enclave does serve the Dreaming Dark, most of its members have no idea that they are in league with the Inspired. In the guise of the Deneth Patriarch, Tirashana began teaching psionic techniques to the Defenders. Dear Lord, that's a great hook. They haven't even done the quests yet, and I would love to see this continue. If they're allowed to. Alright. Let's move down to this one. Let's see. This is all this is all about the Dreaming Dark. So we can get involved within a power struggle between the Lord of the Household, Sidran de Deneth, and the dominated by the Dreaming Dark, Tir Ashana. This is just a natural thing to put in, if not day one, within the first 3 packs that take us into Sharn. This is gold. I mean, the Dragonmark houses are always have been a great place to have core storylines for DDL because of the nature that they are. While they all specialize in one thing, the fact that they specialize in one thing means that naturally they're going to butt heads when certain events cause two disparate goals to collide. The necessity of Fairlanding to get information and the need of the need to maintain physical control. This can put them to make them as allies. Fairlane gets the information. Deneath gets and Deneath uses the information, or as on opposite sides of it, where Fairlane gets the information, but Deneath is working has been paid to work for the opposite side. So the Enclave includes 9 Sentinel Marshals. The most accomplished are Lelia de Deneath and Tazra de Deneath. Both of them who are possessed. They are part of the Dreaming Dark. And they're identical twin sisters who have the lesser mark of Sentinel. And carry that little squishy thing. Which, we can see it, but they can't. The two sisters have a cruel sense of humor and enjoy toying with their quarry during a hunt. Well, they sound lovely. All right, let's move on to House Kandaric. Now, House Kandaric has been traditionally one of my favorite houses because it's just, they seem the most sensible usually, but they do have that element of losing that when greed comes into play. We've seen that as a dwarvish feature with the Mines of Tethamar, and we've seen that as a House Kandaric feature when we went into the Caves of Koromar. We've also gotten hints of that in Vault of Night, where something's really important going on, and Vela knows it, but the dwarves won't listen to the dragon, so she's got to break in. House Kandaric really seems to be the one house where their competence in their area of expertise is so good that it might lead to the whole idea of pride goeth before a fall. So, Sharn is one of the greatest centers of trade and commerce in Corvair, and it is small wonder that the House of Warding would have a strong presence in the city. For most part, Kandaric's only interest in Sharn is business. Aside from the vast amount of gold that flows through the Kandaric Bank each day, the house owns magically secured warehouses and sells magic and mundane locks, alarms, traps to the many wealthy and powerful inhabitants of the city. Now, since there's a small amount of shipping between Sharn and Zendrick, it would not be all that surprising to find out that, maybe Bodrick Cardivan and Hazadil both had operations there too. So we can see a continuation even of those stories. Or just simply bringing them back as NPCs, especially in getting to know Sharn quests. While Kandaric tends to be a passive house, there are things that can stir to action, notably the loss of wealth. During the last war, Braylon took out vast loans from the Kandaric Bank to pay for the war effort. King Boronel has been coming up short on his payments, and the Kandaric elders are displeased. Acting on their behalf, Daphne de Kandaric has been talking with members of the Braylish Parliament who wish to see the monarchy removed from power, notably Lord Rukian Irklarn and Has Irtain. Aside from satisfying the wounded pride of the house, this could provide Kandaric with considerable influence over the new prime minister. This appeals to the elders. Remember, you borrow $1 from the bank owns you. And you borrow $1 billion from the bank, you own the bank. So House Kandaric wants a little bit more influence over this human regime that owes it so much money. Okay, so Daphne de Kandaric is there are a lot of female NPCs in this. And that's good. I love that. That's just great. Is the leader of the Sharn Kandaric Enclave. She's one of the more respected members of the house and is in many ways more influential than Ilde de Carneth, the regional director of Rote. Daphne is a fair woman, but she never forgets a slight, never forgives a broken promise, and has a strong appetite for vengeance. In other words, she sounds like she's a member of House Kandaric. All right. Do we have another one? Nope. It's House Civis. Now, know nothing about House Civis. I could go to the campaign book and look it up. But let's see what the Sharn book has to say about House Civis. House Civis conducts a great deal of business in Sharn. As a center for international trade, communication is vitally important in Sharn, and there are over a dozen Civis message stations in the city. House Kandaric is just one of the groups that employs Civis scribes and accountants. Civis mediators and barristers are in high demand in the courts of Sharn, and with the proximity of Zendrick, there is always a call for skilled translators. The House performs all these functions, and quite well. It maintains its policy of absolute neutrality with all forces in the city, including the Zalargo embassy. However, there are traditions to be upheld, and as a result, House Civis still fights its one ancient enemy, House Civis. The gnomes are engaged in constant battle of wits and intrigues, and it is a delicate balancing act. The gnomes fight for power and position within the house, and humiliating a rival is the best way to gain advancement, demonstrating wit and cleverness while revealing the victim's vulnerability. However, the schemer still has to make sure that his actions do not sully the reputation of the house. Causing a civic barrister to lose his case may very well embarrass him, but it is also a black mark on Civis as a whole. It is a tricky and delicate battlefield, and one that is difficult for outsiders to understand. So while Orion is like the phone company, U.S. Postal Service, House Civis is like the world or Eberron's great temp service. They provide all the functionaries for the bureaucracy to work when you need just, you put your people in charge, but the magical trains still need to run on time, and you'll need a bureaucrat for that. You hire one from House Civis. I don't think there's a whole lot of really great books in here, but we will have a lot of really great NPCs from here. I don't see us really getting involved in the gnomish politics, but it's obvious to see that Calamy, from Memories of an Illusionary Larcener, could be a disgraced member of House Civis, and could be certainly a great hook for NPCs to use while they're there. Like, hey, Calamy, where is he? Furio owes House Civis his due. He ran off to Zendrick. You're gonna put a hit on him. All right. It's only covered about half the time, so let's go ahead and move on to foreign powers. I want to cover government on its own stream. Just delve into both Breland and Sharn government. But while this is the biggest city in Breland, it's a very metropolitan city. Think of it, this is literally the New York of Eberron. All the foreign powers have embassies here. This is kind of like where the Eberron UN would be to try to prevent a reoccurrence of the last war and whatnot. I mean, this is not the first time World War II parallels have really influenced a video game. Wait, Commander! Sorry about that. So while Sharn is not the capital of Breland, it is one of the largest cities on Corvair and the center of commerce and education. Most of the nations of Eberron have established enemies or consulates in Sharn to protect their interests and to resolve diplomatic and trade disputes. There are a number of exceptions, of course. Dargon, the Shadow Marshes, and the Eldian Reaches don't have official representatives. Other nations have different levels of representation as described below. Unless otherwise mentioned, all consulates are located in the ambassador towers in Middle Central. It's a little surprising, as Middle Central is kind of like, it would be a little bit like if the UN was located in Queens, I would think. I would have thought it would be in Upper Central. That's me. But that's not what's written. I'm what I think and what Keith Baker wrote down. I hate Keith. He ever shows up, I love it. Great. Oh, unfortunately, councils tend to be very busy individuals, and they rarely have time or inclination to address the problems of individual citizens or deal with functionaries like us. So, House Civ is probably be our go-between. Arranging to see a consul requires a minimum of a DC Diplo check and may require bribery as well. So Alice Thane could see him. Glyn might have to wait a week, and Natalia has no chance. So leave it that way for my own characters. I gotta do something real quick. Gotta wait a minute. All right. See, now, even if this check succeeds, it still may take for some time for the meeting to take place. There may be nothing that the council can do to help. But on the paragraph below, it says that the consul may contact a character, and I'm thinking the best thing to do here would probably go through a member of House Civis, just so we can get, kind of get them into the game. Okay? I can definitely see Civis as a bureaucrat, even working through an Orient courier. If it requires a face-to-face meeting, it would probably be with a lower functionary like that, the third undersecretary to the under-minister for trade, agriculture, and race car repair. Arenol lumber, densewood, bronzewood, darkwood, and other products of the great jungles are an important commodity. Lady Talira is the consul of Ariel and has held this post for over 300 years. Must like the job, or at least the perks. Talira has little interest in the wars or conflicts of the younger races, and she is unlikely to take an interest in anything that adventurers bring to her attention. If there is a problem, her inclination is to wait a year and see if it's still an issue. Must be nice to live for a really long time like that. Trade agreements are an exception to this rule, and Talira is a vicious negotiator when it comes to protecting the economic interests of the elves. I would expect so. Oh, we've got a map. So let's go ahead and look at the map really quick. So if we do get lucky and we see an embassy, there will be a main hall and a central rotunda, and then you'll go here and there'll be an office. They gotta eat, a kitchen. Records. Record vault seems. I don't know. I think that would be a little too close to the main rotunda. This is a library and study. This is probably where more secure records are. Then the ambassador gets a full suite. There's some guest rooms. Various rooms up top. I'd expect a small barracks. Well, there's guard rooms. I'd also expect a small barracks and an for the honor guard. 20 elite soldiers or something. Orange names for the DDO people. Ondare. During the last war, the battles between Ondare and Breland left deep scars on both lands, but while fierce, these conflicts were brief. And by the close of the war, the two nations were strong allies. Today, Elias and Helias, Irlantar, sons of one of the noble families of Ondare, serve the interests of their nation in Sharn. They are identical twin brothers, and both are remarkably handsome and urbane. They are quite popular at galas and other social events. While both brothers are officially ambassadors, each performs different duties. Elias is the administrator, while Helias is the actual diplomat. Helias is not actually an ambassador. He is, of course, a professional spy. That's what I would have expected. She serves as Queen Alla's eyes and ears, but the queen has been betrayed, and her misplaced trust may spell disaster in the future. Ooh. How has she been betrayed? Oh, that's because there's only one Lantar brother. And Heleus Lantir is actually Rakshasa, who is a brother of somebody else, Anthara and Nephahar. Oh, Elias is in on the kick. Look at that. Elias is well aware of his brother's true nature. He is a cruel and conniving man who enjoys assisting the Lords of Death with their schemes. In addition to the power he gains from the Alliance, Elias feels that his connection to the Rakshasas puts him above mere mortals. So we've got, really here, a lot of intrigue with Onder. Probably could even tie them in with Inquisitor Noman. Let's move on to Sire. While Sire now only exists as an idea, a few years ago it was a powerful nation, and Siren embassies still exist in the great courts of Corvair. Many nations have expelled the Siren ambassadors, what use as an ambassador without a country. However, Braylon has taken in a large number of Siren refugees and has even allowed the creation of the city of New Sire on its northwestern border. As a result, Sharn has allowed the embassy of Sire to remain open. The primary function of the Siren embassy is to coordinate refugee activities and provide a point of contact for New Sire. The few surviving Siren nobles realize the precariousness of their situation. They have lost the wealth and the resources of their nation, along with the bulk of their military. New Sire only exists because of King Bordo, and if the Sirens have nothing to offer or are perceived as a threat, they could be gone. The embassy spends much of its time among the refugees in Lower Tavik's Landing. Again, Tavik's Landing, really great. I almost have to think that it's got to be on launch day. Recording the identities and skills of Siren refugees and trying to find positions for them within the city. Okay, so now that's a great place for trying to make sure that Rakshasas or shapeshifters are not trying to infiltrate what remains of the Siren nation, to make sure that they don't try to ruin relationships between Braylon and the Siren community. On the opposite side that could hurt, we have this paragraph which says, there are those among the surviving nobles who feel that their proud nation should not exist as a memory or as a gift. They plan to seize new land, whether from Braylon, Dargun, Valinar, or some other nation entirely. This would require powerful magical artifacts, perhaps ancient weapons hidden in... Everybody say it with me now. Zindrik. Or dangerous dealings with the Lords of Dust, the Inspired, or the Order of the Emerald Claw. Now, do we have any quests that have the Inspired in it? The whole Inspired Order. The Order of the Emerald Claw. Epic Necro. Lords of Dust. There might have been one or two. I can't think of any right off the top of my head. If there was only a quest called Lords of Dust, then I could remember it, right? The Siren Ambassador to Sharn is Lord Jaren Eardane, or Jaren Eardane. Jaren still plays the role of the proud noble, attending social functions in his fine clothes, but he lost his fortune on the day of mourning, and his glamour weave doublets are becoming increasingly threadbare. He needs a new mirror of glamoring. Somebody kick him down one. Jaren is an optimist, and he believes that somehow if he keeps doing his job, Sire will be restored, that new Sire can peacefully grow, and perhaps reclaim the blasted Moorland. So this guy seems like a contact we deal with. Like he's like the good guy. He wants to bring balance. He's something that most lawful good or neutral good characters could really get down with. even lawful chaotic, or, lawful neutral. Ew. Sorry, I'm having my first cup of coffee in like 5 days. It's good though. Now it says the Siren Spy Master, Terala, is Jaren's mirror image. She is obsessed with the survival of Sire and will use any means necessary to achieve that goal, however questionable they may be. So, this power story seems just, I mean, with whatever context that they give her. Did he say whatever? No, but she could ally with any or all of them. Could you imagine a quest when if you're in you're caught between a three-way fight between the Lords of Dust, the Inspired, and the Emerald Claw? I mean, and chaos ensued. They're talking about spying. Okay, Dargoon, the Lesh Brook of Dargoon is a warrior first and a diplomatic second, and under his rule, Dargoon has not established any embassies in Corvair. So most diplomatic contacts are through House Denis. But there are some officials in Sharn. It looks like they're in Malian's Gate in Lower Dura. The Hobgoblin troop known as the Chakor, the Black Bloods, is using the Bloodstone Inn as a base of operations. Their war leader is not a merchant, and he generally relies on House Denis to negotiate contracts on his behalf. Alright, so we don't really have much to do here with Dargoon. We might see them in side quests, but I don't see us really having a lot of contact with them on a regular day-to-day basis. Alright, next is Droam. We're more familiar with Droam than Dargoon. The monstrous nation of Droam did not participate in the Treaty of Thronehold, and the Braelish Crown does not recognize the power or authority of the hags that rule there. In recent years, House Tharash has developed strong ties to Droam, and the House of Finding serves as an intermediary for most dealings with the Crag. However, there is one direct representative of the hags in Sharn, is Kavala, the ogre mage who leads the criminal organization known as Dask, and you've heard of Dask too. Many of the monstrous inhabitants of the city are working for the House Tharakash, or Dask, but there are monstrous citizens who have settled in Sharn to pursue other opportunities. Ogres and gnolls work in the cogs, and a few more exotic creatures in the upper level. Some of these creatures are petty criminals, while others find honest work as laborers. While they have no official ties to Dask, most recognize Kavala's authority, or at least so afraid of her that they obey her commands if she calls on them. I'm not sure reading this, it seems like that Droam is kind of on the lay low. But, as we see right here, we do have one unusual expatriate Droamite is Karg. He's an intelligent ogre, an intelligence of 10. Supposedly bright for an ogre. He stumbled upon a cache of Dahkani treasure a few years ago. Now, one of the more powerful monsters would take this prize away if he stayed in Droam. Karg came to Sharn. He spent 4 years studying at Morgrave University and wants to become a master sage. And he is particularly fascinated by the history of Zendrick. So I can really see this Karg being a really good contact in the expansion, especially since he's probably in Morgrave University, and the Central Plateau, Morgrave University, and Tovik's Landing are all three places that I would like to see on launch day. Alright, Karnath. The Embassy of Karnath is a brooding fortress in the midst of the Ambassador Towers. The Karns are always prepared for the worst, and the embassy is designed to endure a siege. The interior of the embassy is filled with whips of warning, alarm, and arcane seals. So think a little bit like the House Fairlane Illusionarium. One wrong step can prove deadly. The embassy contains its own garrison of elite soldiers, 20 third level flyers, 20 orange names, all prepared to die in the service of Karnath. We can see that if we have to raid the Karnath embassy, which probably would be a bad idea, we can see that it would actually be a truly bad idea. Ambassador Syria Tarn, is a brilliant diplomat, and she's completely devoted to her nation and her king. She has no ties to the Order of the Emerald Claw, and she doesn't even know about the hidden temple of the Blood Oval in Greywall. She seems like fun. It's like, hey, we're from Zendrick. Let me tell you, about this half elf, half dragon lich we just fought. She'd be all like, what? The Lazar principalities now. Each of the Lazar princes has his own agenda, and each prince has a personal representative in Sharn. These ambassadors spend most of their time in trade negotiations and denying rumors of Lazar piracy. The Lazar embassy is unstable at best, and the ambassadors come and go as they please. It is impossible to predict who will be in the residence of the embassy at any given time. And this just seems like a group of people trying to pretend that their little pirate kingdoms are actual nations. It would be a little bit like, the whole Barbary pirate idea of the late 18th century. Yeah, no, back. 17th century, 18th century. The Maror Holes. The Maror Holes are a loose confederation of clans, each with its own mercantile interests. Each holds a representative in the Maror consulate. The dwarf consuls rarely have any use for adventurers. It would be unusual to be called to the yeah, we're not going to deal with the Lazar probably a lot. Raedra. After 1,000 years of silence and secrecy, the Inspired have finally emerged from the shadows of Sarlona. Raedra remains a mystery. Visitors are not welcome in the land of the Inspired, as the ambassador of Raedra can be found in all the courts of Corvair. They are charming and urbane, generous with gifts, and eager to help the nations recover from the last war. Most are happy to receive the assistance with Raedra, but there are some who wonder about the true motives of the Inspired. We've just dealt with the Inspired, so maybe we'll get mixed up with trying to uncover their plots. Quabara. Most of the citizens of the Kingdom of Galifar, also known as Quabara, consider the people of the Western Lands to be corrupt warmongers. Quabara participated in the Treaty of Thronehold, but has little interest in trade with Breland. The Quabarans primarily deal with the Maror Holds, the Lazar princes, and the Inspired Lords of Raedra. As a result, Quabara does not maintain an official embassy or consulate in Sharn. Unofficially, Quabara's interests are represented by Yosef Ir Kalain, who is a clever negotiator and a shrewd judge of human nature. Yeah, I don't see us dealing too much with the Quabarans at first. Yeah. We're more likely to encounter Quabara, the house, or the nation of Quabara as foes rather than friends. The Talenta Plains. The people of the Talenta Plains have little interest in political machinations. Stories say that they draw straws to see us to serve as an ambassador. Oh, well, we probably won't have a whole lot of dealing with the Talenta Plains. Thrain. The Lords of Thrain still hold Queen Warren responsible for the last war, and relations between the two countries have never been warm, although this general distaste pales in comparison to the hatred of Thrain has for the Karns. Lady Enador monitors the events in the city on behalf of her nation, but rarely becomes actively involved in local affairs. Yeah, we're probably not going to deal with them either. Valinar, the elves of the Vales Tarn, are warriors with a thirst for glory. They are never happier than when battling against overwhelming odds and honoring the spirits of their ancestors with spirit and song. While their High King signed the Treaty of Thronehold, the elves have not abided by its restrictions. Well, for those of you looking to pad your stats in your monster manual with elves, here's your chance. It looks like the Valinor are probably not going to be too much friends to Sharn. They seem to be like breaking the rules. Yeah, well, though, if if you think that the rules need to be broken, you're chaotic good. Maybe you'd be down with them. If you're a true neutral or chaotic neutral, you'd be all like, yeah, gotta get in on this action. I don't think they can sit well with the evil, though. Let's see. Someone has to appease the lords of the Western Kingdoms to convince the kings and princes that the actions of the elves pose no threat, which they obviously do. So we could see the meeting Dara Sarnal as an opponent. You know, we defeat her things, and she comes out and she says, "Oh, I would have succeeded if it hadn't been for you meddling adventurers." So there is no Valinor embassy in Sharn because the elves like to move around. They don't like to have. The Valinor elves don't want to be tied down. I can see that. Zilargo. The Zilargo embassy was built long before the last war to facilitate trade between Zilargo and Galifar. Zilargo remained one of Breland's closest allies throughout the last war, and that alliance is still strong today. Zil artificers and engineers produce many of their wares in the great factories of Breland, and the Breland refineries sell much of their ore to Zilargo. Most of the time, the gnomes pay for these services with gold, jewels, or ships. But the gnomes are also masters of intrigue, and throughout the war, the intelligence gathered by Zil spies was invaluable to the Bralish war effort. So it seems like we can draw some obvious parallels, and I won't get into real life, but obviously, Zilargo is the creative machine, and Bralish works as the manufacturer. So we definitely could see, plans were stolen, and Zilargo wants them back. Tasho Moldaris, the ambassador of Zilargo, is a brilliant diplomat and a ruthless negotiator. He is always looking for a way to get an edge over his political and mercantile opponents, and quickly seizes upon any side of weakness and exploits it. So we can see kind of him as the bad guy of the side. Let's see what Doran Del Torres is the true power of the embassy of Zilargo. Doran is the master of spies, and even Tasho follows his orders. So maybe we'd have to convince Doran to rein in Tasho. He has a permanent Rari's telepathic bond to allow him to communicate with Madra Silsarin and his superior in the trust in Corenburg. So I guess we should read Madra. Madra is the deadliest assassin. She is a disturbing enigma even to other gnomes. She answers only to the trust, and she has killed quite a few gnomes to preserve the secrets of the embassy. Doran can use his telepathic bond to request her services, but only the trust can approve an assassination. So we have an Emperor and Mara Jade thing kind of going on here a little bit. Not too sure. I think Eberron is about the same time. That was 97. Eberron was what? Oh, well, no, probably about the same time. Yeah. Generally, Madra is only seen when she attacks. If she can help it, she isn't seen at all. She strikes from the shadows and then becomes invisible the following round before our opponents can have a chance to locate her. So she's kind of like that one attacker inside of the Slavers. The really annoying one. Ooh, artwork. Run without loot! Get away from the house Denny's! Look at that, right there. You can kind of see here, we have curiouses that look like that. Inside there. They did a really good job with the artwork. Like I said, it's been years since I really went through this, and I wasn't comparing him back then. I was really more on the story. But now I'm also looking at the artwork because I'm trying to see what's going to be going on as they work on it. Just kind of get a feel for it. "Stop, thief!" shouted the watchguard as he chased the fleeing gnome onto the sky bridge. "Maybe later," Ruznar shouted back, realizing that the larger humans were gaining on him. All right, so we're moving on to law and order, and I hope they maybe combine this with the actual government. I thought that foreign nations, government, and law and order should have been put in that order, but it wasn't. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the Sharn stream here. I appreciate everybody who stopped by to listen to me. And it was almost an all PDF stream today. I didn't really have a chance to run around and show anything in DDO. But, I mean, we all kind of know what House Caneth and House Dinieth and House Kandaric all look like. And I think it was better to get the information out rather than maybe spend time in game, especially for that. So next week we'll probably have a mostly PDF stream, and then after that we're going to take a look. I'm going to go through the books and get a really good sense of the artwork I can draw out of here, and maybe get a sense of what Sharn will look like. And that's the current plan. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Once again, sincere thanks to Mockduck for rating me. I really appreciate. That's really super flattering, actually, especially considering I'm going over this now. And with that, I'm going to get ready, and I'll be back on the DDO stream in an hour for Bard Life with me, your host, Doug Lindauer. So peace and good questing. Hope to see you all over on DDO stream later. Thank you.